Hey everybody, since I had converted the Cubic Computer MidTower Deluxe from water cooling back over to air cooling, I'm sure some of y'all are probably curious to see what the inside of the generic SC600 water pump looks like. So the reason why I took this out of service is, well, you might be able to see right there, big old crack in the plastic on the exit right here, on this connection here. What it was is this this fitting here, well, it was too big. Well, actually, yeah, it was too big to where this would bottom out before the O-ring would actually even touch. Therefore, what would happen is well, water would leak out. So what I had done back in late 2017 and early 2018 when I put this into service was I just used Teflon tape, and that worked for, what, 6 years. And this summer I begun to notice, what it was is this thing was getting low on coolant, and I didn't see any leaks inside the system, but I noticed that the sponge, this material right here, which I had just sitting on top of, was wet of coolant. And I was like, okay. So I look at this, and the crazy thing is this was facing toward the radiator, so you couldn't quite see what was going on. And I had tightened this down slightly, and I went to put coolant back in this thing, and coolant just started going everywhere. And I was like, oh boy. So that was the end of that. So let me go and get that fitting off of there so I can save it. I'm not going to bother looking for my proper wrench. I'm just going to use this thing right here. Just to yank it off there, figuratively speaking. But so what I'm going to do is we're going to open this up. I got to take this off here. Now this pump was also kind of just pressed into the reservoir, because this piece here, that's kind of how it was with the original pump. So this reservoir was something I already had from years back, and if you look here at the side here, it had a crack in it which I had sealed up with a ton of super glue and epoxy, and that has held all these years. And this thing dates back from March of 2006. Holy cow. This thing's 18 years old. But, yeah, let's go and get this off here, because that actually goes with the reservoir. So, kind of like the output piece, I had also used Teflon tape here. There's still a little bit of coolant left in this thing. But, and also some Teflon tape where it goes into the plastic. Now this section here never leaked, and as you might be able to see, it never cracked here. But anyways, that being said, let's go ahead and open this up, because curiosity done killed the cat. I'm sure y'all are probably curious to see what is inside this cheap $20-something pump. How well is it built? Let's see. Alrighty. So this particular pump came with this L bracket. I'm going to hang on to that because some of the ones that are, some of these pumps on Amazon don't have that L bracket. Not that it's really needed, but because the thing is, if I go back to water cooling in the future, I may end up reusing that reservoir and getting another SC600 pump. I'll probably end up doing the water cooling system just the way I had it before, on top of the system. Alright, let's go ahead and crack this open. Because I am curious to see how well this thing is built. And also, keep this in mind, boys and girls, this thing has been running or at least when it was in service. This thing has ran non-stop pretty much from New Year's 2018 up through, I think it was August of this year, 2024. Yeah. So a little over 6 years. 24/7 runtime. Because the MidTower Deluxe, it stayed on all the time, as it always does, unless there's a power outage, which power outages here are pretty rare. Alright, so here comes, okay, so we got this shaft right here. So essentially this impeller inside the pump just rides on top of this shaft, and I think it's a good reason to show why you never run your pump dry, because your pump relies on that water or coolant for lubrication. So that's it. That's what the actual pump impeller looks like. It's not much to it, really, to be honest. I'm sure that plastic was probably closer to white when it was new. It's kind of gotten a little discolored over the years. So this thing basically has been pumping around car antifreeze most of its life. Or I should say a watered down version of car antifreeze. I took 50/50, very diluted, pressed on antifreeze coolant, and mixed it half and half with distilled water. So it was basically 75% distilled, 25% antifreeze. Alright, so now I'm pulling out the impeller. So how this works is you have this impeller which is attached to a rotor, which is what glides on that shaft, whatever I did with it. Right here. So this has a magnet built into it. So this is the rotor. And what this does is it just sits. I get it in there, just like that. So the motor windings are totally dry. The motor windings as well as the electronics are totally dry. And what's funny is how this is put together. In a way, it kind of reminds me of, let's say, the motor in a compressor, like a refrigeration compressor. You have this big rotor, and then you have your windings. It's a brushless motor, obviously. Alright, so in here is an O-ring. Let me back in here. It's like, oh great, now I'm getting antifreeze on my hands. It's just wonderful. Alright, so if I remember right, because the thing is, years ago, before I bought this pump back in late 2017, I had looked online to see images of a teardown of this pump, and I vaguely remember it. So we pop this apart. This will get us access into the electronics and the motor itself. Alright. So the whole back comes off of this. Alright. Okay, so inside here we have 4 sets of windings. And somewhere here, I'm pretty sure, I think it's in the back actually, is the electronics that drive this brushless motor. So, pretty stout. Pretty stout, for sure. construction of this really does remind me of like a refrigeration compressor. That's a pretty big stack of yeah, it's a pretty big stack there of that laminate steel, and you got these big windings in there. Not sure exactly what the current rating on this was, but now of course it was not heavily loaded. I mean, it was moving coolant around at a pretty good rate, but I'm pretty sure if you loaded this thing down, it would burn up pretty quickly. It would get hot and it would burn up pretty quickly. But if you've ever seen inside an automotive, or not automotive, excuse me, if you've ever seen inside of a refrigeration compressor, like in an air conditioner or a refrigerator, this construction is very similar. Matter of fact, nowadays we have scroll compressors in most of our like residential commercial HVAC, and in the scroll compressor you have a very similar setup to this. The motor windings, of course, it's different because those motors run on AC, either single phase or three phase, or they run on an inverter. They don't run on DC and have electronics in the back that drive the motor that way. But actually, inverters are kind of similar to this. They are kind of similar, but the motor, however, is very similar. And instead of having this impeller up here, you would have the scrolls. You'd have your inner scroll, and then you have your fixed scroll. So the motor design, it really reminds me a lot of a compressor. But I'd say this was what, $20-something, and I think they're still in the neighborhood of $20-something bucks on like Amazon and places like that. This is what you get for $20-something bucks. And back in 2017, when I bought this, I was kind of skeptical, and I'm sorry if I'm not getting the best view here. Pan out a little bit there. I was skeptical. I didn't know what to expect of this thing, but over the years, this thing has worked very well, and it's unfortunate that the plastic was, the plastic cracked here, because if it weren't for that plastic cracking, this pump would still be working. No doubt about that. Now, I could probably epoxy seal this up or something of that nature and put this back in service, but I don't think I'd want to use it on a computer. No, I would not want to use it on a computer, that's for sure. But I did want to tear this apart. That way y'all could see inside this thing, for those of you who are curious what the inside of an SC600 pump looks like. So anyways, that wraps up for this video. Hope you enjoyed it. Thanks for watching. Hey everybody. Thanks for watching this video from Q channel. If this is your first time, please subscribe to the channel and tick the bell so you get notified of a new video I post. Please like this video if you enjoyed it, leave a comment, and share this video as well as the channel with your friends to get the word out. In addition, I have a second YouTube channel. That's QCompMTDX. Again, I hope you enjoyed this video, and thank you so much for your support.